First of all, I want to welcome everyone back to the channel. Great to have you. Today we're talking AMC stock. Will the short squeeze continue to go on? We've seen a massive up and down movement from the stock, all the way from $19 back down to $8, and now we're trending closer to that $10 marker. There's some pretty big news on both sides of the stock. There was a downgrade yesterday, price target of $1 on AMC stock, kind of a slap in the face to all the investors. Then there was some actual bullish news with BlackRock releasing how much their investments they've actually poured into this company, totaling up to 6.2 million shares. We're going to get into exactly how much they've accumulated since December. But before we get into that content, I need you to do one thing and one thing only. Hit that sub button down below, leave a thumbs up, and have the notifications turned on because we're posting videos every single day regarding the stocks that I am trading, the long-term gems, and the stocks you guys are requesting. Today is all about you guys, and I'm only doing videos regarding the stocks you are requesting, so let's get to it. The first thing we're going to talk about is what Mark Cuban has advised to the Reddit investors or the retail investors, whoever you may be. If you are in the stock and you can afford to hold, he recommends holding because right now, honestly, you're just taking a massive loss if you bought above that $15 range, even above $10 at this point. And his thesis is relatively true. One, if you start selling, you're just benefiting those short sellers. There's no real benefit for you. And then we're seeing large capital pour in as well. The short interest is also increasing, which we're going to get to here in a second. But this is actually some kind of intellectual advice from Mark Cuban. And if you don't know exactly what he said, we're going to go over it right now. Basically, he hopped into the Wall Street Bets chat room and said, "Ask me anything." And this was his response to, should they hold? What should they do? You can afford to hold the stock, you hold. I don't own any of it, but that's what I would do. Why? Because Robinhood and the other online brokers open it back up to buyers. Then we will see what Wall Street Bet is really made of. That is when you get to make it all work. I have no doubt that there are funds and big players that have shorted the stock, thinking they are smarter than everyone else on Wall Street Bet. I know that you are going to hate to hear this, but the lower it goes, the more powerful Wall Street Bets can be stepping up to buy the stock again. So I understand what he's saying. By holding, honestly, you're showing the strength of the stock. The short sellers ultimately have to get the stock back down below that $4-5 marker. That's where they need to get the stock back down to. By holding the stock, you are kind of holding your ground, holding the line, whatever you want to say. I understand the pain. I don't own any of this stock right now, but at this moment, I am considering call options because I do see the potential upside, which we're going to get to the chart here in a second. So we're here on FinViz. As you can see right here, I've highlighted the short float, 101, basically 102 million of a short float, massive amounts. That volume as well has really kicked up to that 102 million, showing that there's still a lot of buyers in this play. This is highshortinterest.com. They're a little bit delayed, but overall it's pretty good. They do the day before. As you can see, AMC is still sitting at that 79% short interest. The float is around 57 million, and then outstanding almost 300 million. All pretty terrible right there, showing that there is potential for that short squeeze. But I really want to take a look at the chart and show you my viewpoint. The chart is really where I focus more of my time. The fundamentals, I see them lining up. The weak hands are going to be the real key to this short squeeze, in my opinion. If the people that own it right now continue to hold, I do think more capital will continue to flow in and pushing us up. The longer this lasts, especially going into Friday, can really prove to be very, very strong. Before we go into that actual chart, I wanted to highlight this as well. So in December, this is where they last highlighted how many shares BlackRock owned. They had 3.9 million shares. As of yesterday, BlackRock has came out and said they own 6.2 million, basically buying 2.2 million shares of AMC over the past 30-45 days, which is showing someone believes in the company. They own about 5.7% equity in the whole company. That's a large sum of an investment into AMC, really believing into it. Now, personally, I don't think AMC is going to go back to those pre-COVID levels. I think movies, the dynamic of movies especially, have changed tremendously. I think we're going to be seeing movies from home like we are seeing right now from HBO. But I definitely think from a fundamental standpoint of the chart, there is definitely a short squeeze in the works. And so here we are on AMC. As you see, yesterday we saw a massive drop from that $14, $13 range all the way down to a $6.4 range. Over a 50% drop in the overall stock value. And then today we're getting another 50% move back to the upside. Looking very, very bullish, honestly. I think if we can hold above this $10 range, there is massive upside. So what I'm looking for here, this is the action that I'm looking for to get into a play for an option. This is what I think the upside is, and this is what I'm overall looking for. I want to see a break of this line, a retest, and then move back up. You're often going to see this pattern from me. This is a bread and butter pattern. You want to see a breakout and then a retest of that resistance and support, because if we hold that support, high possibility we start to push back up. But the one thing to know here is with these short squeezes, you often don't get these retouches and then move back up. They're usually pretty parabolic. But for today, I do think we could potentially get it on the 15-minute, maybe the 30-minute going into tomorrow. You're often seeing at these opens, we're getting some quick pushes down and then move back up. The only thing that I am assuming may happen going into tomorrow is that on the after hours, we could potentially see some massive movement up to that $13, $14 range. It's definitely in the works. We're already seeing a 50% movement over the past day and a half, give or take, from here to here. That's over a 50% move. That's worth noting that volume is definitely kicking in, as well as we're sitting on top of that VWAP. The VWAP is definitely an indicator to show where the momentum is shifting, and the fact that we're breaking back to the upside, it looks very, very positive. We're sitting at that, I believe, the 9.43 range right now. So overall, it does not look bearish to me at this point, especially with the news of BlackRock really dumping their shares into this company. It's looking pretty bullish. Not only are retail investors buying in, but we're also getting these outside hedge funds buying in now too. BlackRock was a big purchase in my opinion, and then we saw another $1 million share buy today. That's another thing that retail is very much kicking in, as well as some outside investors. And then the last thing I want to cover is the OBV. You can see we're getting a breakout of this line right here. And now it's looking like we're going to start floating and then pushing back up. On the after hours is where I expect that push up to come from. We have about 3 hours left on the day. When this gets released, it'll obviously be after hours. So this is worth noting. I do believe volume is going to start kicking in here. But where am I looking to take profits? One thing I'm looking for is to get a push up to this 8.5 level. Currently, we are sitting at this 6.9 level. So there's a high level of OBV still to be covered, what I'm looking for there. So we can take a little zoom back out and looking at the chart. Where am I seeing us going? I just mentioned it a second ago. I want to see this test of this $13 to $14 range here, possibly even a touch up here to this $16, $17 range on a wick. Now, on the after hours, things tend to get pretty crazy, so bear with me. It could get pretty wild, and it might not show up on the chart based on the after hours activity, so keep that in mind. Overall, though, right now, it's looking very positive. I do think we're going to get a push up. This is pretty wild what's going on. The short interest continues to raise, the float as well. It's looking pretty interesting. It would not surprise me if in the coming days this stock does get halted. So remember, guys, what happened with the last short squeeze and stuff like that. Yes, we could get parabolic, but anything can happen. These exchanges obviously do not work for you. They work for higher powers and ultimately the hedge funds. All right, so in conclusion, looking at AMC, how do I feel about this stock? I think there is definitely a $13 to $14 push in the works. But what do I want to see before I get into that position? I want to see a break and a hold of that $10 level. If we break and hold, I believe we have flipped that resistance and support, and that resistance has now become a support level, which is going to be very key for that push, that $13 to $14 level. From there, we have seen things on the after hours get completely parabolic, so keep that in mind. We can also get a push very, very quickly. I would recommend not being greedy though. This is not financial advice, so do your own due diligence. This is just what I'm doing, and I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts about the trade that I may be taking here. Ultimately though, there is the risk that I might not be able to get into the trade because I'm waiting for that $10 push. Now, I'd rather risk not making money than risk losing money. That's just my personal opinion, especially with something like this. It's extremely volatile, so you need to be playing it as safely as possible. And although we do know trading this short squeeze ultimately is one of the riskier trades you can take, because you're really not trading based on the quality of the company. You're trading against these over leveraging big hedge funds. So you're betting against big names versus yourself. And there's always the possibility this does get halted. So all you can do is sell your positions as well, like they did with Robinhood before. Keep that in mind. But that's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you got something else, make sure you hit that sub button down below, leave a thumbs up, and have the notifications turned on, because I'm posting videos every single day regarding the stocks that I'm trading, the long-term pickups, and then the stocks you guys request. So comment down below if you have a stock you want me to look at, and I might look at it tomorrow. Have a good one, boys. Namaste.